Now it's time for our Legal Tech Founder segment. But before we get there, I wanted to let you know that at tlpodcast.com, there's a dedicated page for each episode we do. If you visit the episode page at tlpodcast.com, you can find links to the stuff we talk about and also find more information about our guests. Also, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you can find us on most major podcasting platforms like Apple, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google, etc., etc. Finally, if you want to get a hold of me or learn more about my company, Percipient, you can shoot me an email at cmain@percipient.co. That's CMAIN@percipient.co. Okay, let's get to our Legal Tech Founder segment. Today, we're talking to Brian Powers. He's the founder of PactSafe. That's a platform that lets you create, monitor, and track high-volume agreements like Clickwrap agreements. It's those type of agreements you click on when you're downloading something from the internet or agreeing to terms and services to use a website. Brian, thanks for being here today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So give us the elevator pitch for PactSafe.
PactSafe is a platform that powers massive scale Clickwrap agreements. So think about the agreements where you check a box, click a button online, terms of service, privacy policies. We are an API that plugs in behind that. And the API is connected to a dashboard where you can create those documents, you can manage them, you can prove who accepted what over time. We integrate into places like registration forms, e-commerce checkout flows, stuff like that, among other things. But it's a space that we've sort of created. We've tracked almost a billion Clickwrap agreements in our short 4 years in business.
So Clickwrap agreements, you talked about them there for a second, but the use case probably everyone is most familiar with is if they buy a piece of software, they download something, it's the terms and conditions they've got to accept before getting the product, right?
Yeah, that's right. So Clickwraps usually, everybody's accepted them at this point, right? There's trillions of those accepted every year on the web, mobile, connected devices. So some examples, like a customer of ours is Wayfair. So anytime somebody buys something on Wayfair and checks out or signs up, to become a recurring customer there, they're going to accept terms of use and a privacy policy. And PactSafe powers those agreements, via our API. So when and if Wayfair would ever have to prove who accepted what over time, typically that happens in like a class action or something, they can go into PactSafe, click a few buttons, and generate records that show who accepted what the screen looked like, what version they accepted, the date they accepted it, and put all of that into a format that looks and feels and has the binding effect of a contract.
And to your point there, I saw you guys just did a study on litigation involving these types of agreements. And I think I remember the number right. It's up 626% or something like that.
Yeah. So we looked at about 700 cases that involved Clickwrap, terms of use, terms of service, terms like that from 2002 to 2018. And as you can imagine, that type of contracting has become much more prevalent over that period. Almost lockstep with that, so has litigation. So yeah, it's just under 700% increase over that 16-year period.
And if people want to check out that white paper, where do they find it?
Yeah, you can just go right to PactSafe.com. And if you click on the resources tab there, it'll take you to a page where you can download it.
Well, that's really cool. So I saw on your LinkedIn bio that you were an attorney for a while. What was the inspiration to start PactSafe?
I practiced law for 6 years. Before that, I was an engineer. And because of that technical aptitude, my law practice focused mostly on representing tech companies. And through that, I found myself for like my software as a service clients and software and e-commerce clients, I found myself drafting terms of service, terms of use, privacy policies, and just noticed that there was no rhyme or reason to how my clients were managing those. They had very difficult times articulating how they could even track who accepted what. A couple times in some M&A deals where I had clients that were buying software as a service businesses, we would go through due diligence and nobody could prove anything. So it was born out of that, right? It was a need that I saw in the market, and turns out that the need was much bigger than what I thought.
And you mentioned this earlier in our interview here today, but what are the key features or the key selling points to PactSafe?
Yeah, so think about any other type of contract that's out there, right, in any business. And typically there's going to be, at least in a larger business, you're going to have some sort of document management system, a version control system, something like e-signature, something that gets the contract signed. Then you're going to have contract management, so you have this entire contract stack that applies to pretty much every contract in a business besides a Clickwrap agreement. The ironic thing about that is, for businesses that are deploying a Clickwrap agreement, it's typically going to be the highest volume contract they have. Every time somebody is clicking, that's creating a new agreement. So the feature set inside of PactSafe and how we built the platform was really designed to mirror that kind of end-to-end contract stack that you would typically see for the contract. So in PactSafe, you can create the contracts, or you can import Word docs to create, an HTML contract. You have all the version control and everything. So as your terms of use change over time, we track all of that. And then with a very simple integration process, you just drop some code onto a website or into a mobile app. Then we track acceptance events against those versions. So inside of the platform, you can change whether somebody's going to accept via checking a box or they clicking a button. Do you want them to have to scroll through the agreement all the way to the bottom? All the different ways that these types of agreements are presented online, PactSafe gives you the ability to configure all that. And then on the back end, you can produce records, you can see all those, you can generate PDF records to, if you have to prove in court or with another lawyer or with a customer that, yes, this is what you accepted when you accepted it, you can produce that. You can customize the way those look.
So who's PactSafe best suited for? Big businesses, small businesses, businesses of all sizes?
Typically, our sweet spot, the businesses that do the best with PactSafe and see the most value are upper mid-market, lower enterprise type online marketplaces, big e-commerce companies, software as a service. A lot of big traditional software companies use PactSafe as a transformational tool to move beyond like traditional e-signature and provide more self-service contract acceptance workflows. That looks very much like what you see for traditional e-commerce and SaaS. So it's those types of customers are typically who we sell to, and then we deal with quite a bit with in-house legal teams. Obviously, they are typically the ones that benefit the most from this inside of these customers.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate you being here today. Thanks for your time. If people want to learn more about PactSafe, where do they find you?
Yeah, just right at pactsafe.com, PACTSAFE.com.